League of Legends MMO.
Ugh.
No, okay. They're doing an animated series though.
Although, with everything that's going on, I'm like, you know what? Maybe I will get into Final Fantasy 14 then.
It's a really good game.
Yeah.
If I had time to play 2 MMOs, I would. Like, I played Final Fantasy 14 back in the beginning of the year. I was playing it quite a bit. It was one of those situations where I was playing by myself and I got sick of playing by myself, even though, like, it's good. I like it a lot. Uh, yeah, it's just good. I just like it. I would say out of all, it's so. I'll go back to what I always say. I don't like WoW Classic as a game that much. It's more of the fact that all my friends who I play online games with are playing Classic WoW,
Yep.
so it's like I can deal with it to play with them because that's the fun bit is talking crap in Discord and doing stuff together. That's the fun part. It's not necessarily the game itself. The game itself is, I don't know, in my opinion, it's passable. It's not the greatest thing that everyone makes it out to be. And then retail is just retail, and it's the hot mess that it is.
I don't know.
I will say
I
this:
still don't
I
feel.
I like playing my shaman better in retail than I do in classic. It's
I
more
can
fun.
totally see that.
I don't have to sit down and drink after every time I fight something in retail. I just have my male rage. It's basically rage is what enhanced shaman has in retail.
Yeah.
And it's just way more fun, and it's just I'm actually hitting buttons and it feels like I'm active, whereas I'm just waiting on auto attacks and occasionally throwing a shock and a storm strike.
Yeah.
It's like, okay.
I mean, that's why I ended up stopping.
Wind Fury procs feel so good. When it happens, it's flipping great. I'll give it that. And I wish they did still have that bit in retail, but
yeah,
just overall, the shaman's way more fun to play in retail. The refinement is just so much better.
Yeah,
on that particular class, I'll say.
I mean, that's the feeling that I got with Hunter as well, where, I mean, I just wasn't enjoying the thought of like, well, it's, throw up Hunter's Mark, pre-pull, then Serpent Sting,
yeah,
then Arcane Shot, then Auto Shot until Arcane Shot's back up.
Yeah.
And then, because so I have a raptor and a turtle, right? So you don't use a turtle for any dungeon type stuff or whatever. So if I was ever going to do that, it would be the raptor. The raptor doesn't get any special abilities. It gets bite and claw. It doesn't even get dash.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Raptor's real bad in classic.
Yeah, I started with the boar and I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
And then they kept disappearing on me. I didn't understand why. It kept like not. So I realized it's the friendship level or whatever. And they'll just peace out on you if it's not high enough. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So now, in addition
after the third time of it running away, I was like, oh, God, what? I have to figure out what's going on. And then I just have to be a raptor nearby. I'm like, I'll tame this thing for now. It should be good, right? Raptor. I'm like, raptor should be good DPS. Nope. And it has 0 abilities. It does good damage. It just is boring. And like, I like the boar because it has the charge, and I don't have to wait to start my attack rotation because the boar just charges in and it's there.
Yep.
Or I have to wait for the stupid raptor to run all the way to it.
Yep. Yeah, the friendship is so in addition to not requiring one like of your bags to become a quiver and only holding ammo, you then also have to take up bag space for food for feeding your pet. Yeah. No. So I mean, with the micromanaging with that, and then just the lack of a rotation, as opposed to in retail, where for Beast Mastery anyway, it's a nice rotation of like using Cobra Shot as a focus dump. But it's like doing priority of like kill command. I'm trying to think. So you do kill command, and then there's Cobra Shot. Oh my god, why can't I think of stuff? There's something that you do to like regain focus as well. Like there's some kind of shot that you do to regain focus. But then it's like weaving those three in there along with like other abilities. But yeah. And then it's like it just takes too long to get like the whole point of Beast Mastery is to get Bestial Wrath, and it's like you don't get it until level 40. Kind of a thing. And I think I prefer getting at least like your staple ability that your whole entire build is built around at level 10 rather than waiting until like practically endgame. That was a problem in Burning Crusade too, was because like the entire point of a hunter rotation was steady shot, and you did not get steady shot until level 70. So it was like you basically couldn't even learn how to properly play hunter until you hit max level. Because then everything changed, and you had to like the whole point of the hunter rotation was weaving steady shot into like, and that was your filler. So yeah. Blah. All right.
It's whatever.
Yeah. Just gonna try and find, where did I do that post? So I can tag people. Oh my god, how do I get to my own profile? There we go. Doop. Doop. Blam. There we go. Ugh. And then we'll get this set up. And there. Oh. God, it's my shoulders have been killing me ever since we got back.
What'd you do?
Like, I somehow like wrenched my neck. While on the honeymoon. And then like I was getting the dizzy spells and everything, went to see my doctor and stuff, and because basically like I had like super tension on like one side of my neck, and then that caused my neck to get stiff. And then it's just like that coupled with like the weather being back here and then being back at work and everything. It's just like having to lean forward and look at a computer all day. It's just like my upper shoulders and my neck. Just all toit.
Oof.
Yeah. Just need to relax.
Yeah.
And I can't because there's so much stuff that has to get done on the weekends now. Like all this stuff that we have to get rid of.
Yeah, geez.
Too much stuff.
Oh.
It's like and like my current desk that my computer's on is starting to fall apart. So we will be swapping out desks this coming weekend. We were thinking about doing it like the past 2 days, and I was like, nah, just in case something goes wrong. So, all right. Why don't we get started?
Sure.
Show starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Coming up on episode 160, Fortnite crosses the event horizon, Spider-Man may face Venom, Gigantamax Gen 1 Pokemon, and much, much more on the 8-Bit Adventures podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the 8-Bit Adventures podcast, bringing you the latest and greatest geeky news of the week. I am your host, Sean Hayes, and with me, only one of my co-hosts this week, Josh York.
But as powerful as two.
Always as powerful as two, but chooses to nerf himself on most weeks.
Yes.
So Courtney is not feeling well. So she will not be joining us this week. But we are going to forge ahead into this brave new world.
I shouldn't do that. That looks bad, actually, when you do that.
Kind of, yeah.
It's one of those things where I was like, oh, we're going to the future. And then I saw myself in the camera like, oh, that looks bad.
Yep. Yep.
Oops.
Yeah. So, this past week, yeah, some big game announcements, some game releases, and some controversial stuff. Not even talking about Blizzard. Just the Pokemon stuff is a little controversial.
Controversy.
Just because it's all of the Pokemon revealed were Gen 1.
Okay. So
once again. It's just the fact that anytime Game
the
Freak
best
seems
generation. Who cares?
It'd be nice if they gave some other Pokemon some love.
No.
Yes.
Make a Pokemon game with just Squirtles.
I mean, I wouldn't say no to that.
See? Exactly.
But why do that when you can do Turtwigs?
Never heard of it. Is it like a Mudkips?
So Turtwig is essentially a grass type snapping turtle. That was one of the starters in Gen 4.
It's a turtle, and you like it.
Yeah, it's great. I could and then they have a fire turtle, and rock turtles, and water turtles.
Okay.
So yeah. I guess why don't we start with that news since we're already talking about it.
Sure.
So there was a trailer released today, and then previously in like one of the Japanese magazines, Koro, which like often does a lot of Pokemon announcements, with a whole bunch of Gigantamax forms, which is basically the new gimmick in Sword and Shield, where Pokemon get super huge, and certain Pokemon also then change forms. It's basically their way of replacing Mega Evolution. The ones they revealed today are Charizard, Eevee, Pikachu, Meowth, and Butterfree. Yeah. So here's the thing. Nobody's going to use Butterfree, ever. Butterfree's really bad.
Maybe it's going to be really good in this one.
No. Generally speaking, I think it's like all but 2 bug Pokemon are like garbage.
Maybe
Like they're stat wise, like just their stat pool and allocations are atrocious.
I kind of like that big Pikachu.
Yeah. Okay. So that's one of the positives out of this.
That's a big chonk right there.
Is Pikachu's Gigantamax form is basically Pikachu becomes the Gen 1 version of Pikachu, where Pikachu went back to being a little chubby rodent.
It's an absolute unit.
is this has been talked about where they like have actually slimmed down Pikachu over the years.
Yeah.
And so this is just like, it's literally just Gen 1 artwork Pikachu.
I like chunky Pikachu.
Yeah, everybody does.
I also like this big Charizard.
So Charizard's form does look pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that.
It's just the fact that like Charizard consistently gets more stuff than like any other Pokemon does.
Charizard is rad, of course.
Yeah, but
Everybody
it'd be nice
likes
if
dragons.
like it'd be nice.
He's not even a dragon type, is he?
Not even a dragon type.
Yeah, I remember that for some reason.
The only one is Mega Charizard X becomes a dragon type. I think it becomes fire and dragon.
Meowth is a little weird.
So Meowth becomes Long Cat.
I mean, that probably fits with Meowth, I guess.
And Meowth's special move in giant form basically like confuses the enemy and makes it rain money.
Okay.
So you get bonus cash because that's Meowth's whole shtick. Pikachu's is some kind of big electrical attack that paralyzes everybody. Eevee basically gets super floofy. Like just gets this big like floofy mane.
I saw that.
And then the ability is causes all Pokemon of the opposite gender to become infatuated.
Okay.
Charizard's, I think, is a big fire attack that then causes additional fire damage for the next 4 turns. And then Butterfree's causes a random status effect on all opposing Pokemon between poison, paralysis, and sleep.
Have you ever seen, it's this animated King of the Hill Pokemon thing? Have you ever seen this?
I have not, but this sounds amazing already.
Hank is basically Ash.
Okay.
And I forget. It's something you have to watch, but it has something to do with Butterfree.
Okay.
And I'll send it to you after the show.
All right.
But whenever I hear Butterfree, I think it just made me think of this little animated short.
Yeah. So yeah, and that's what we got in the announcement today. Also, so you will, if you have Let's Go Pikachu or Let's Go Eevee save data on your Switch, you will like automatically get Pikachu or Eevee that has that Gigantamax form. And then I think something with the Meow, I think it's like if you like pick up the game, if you're an early adopter, so if you buy the game before the end of January, you get the Meowth as well as like a mystery gift. So yeah, I mean, outside of Chunky Pikachu, I don't know, like I'm not super excited for any of those, really. Yeah, definitely get back to me when we see Gigantamax Blastoise or Gigantamax Torterra would make my day, because then, you know, my like 24 Turtwigs that I bred for trading and then didn't turn out well, so I have to keep them all. You know, they won't go to waste.
Right. I mean, not being a particularly big Pokemon fan, I like Big Chunk Pikachu.
Yep.
I think that Charizard is rad, so sure. I think it looks cool, so why not?
Yeah.
And Meowth is weird, so okay. And I think Eevee's overrated, always. So take that, Eevee fans.
It also kind of like detracts from the point of Eevee, which is like, like the whole point of Pikachu, like, is often to not evolve Pikachu, but the whole point of Eevee is to like evolve Eevee into one of the myriad of forms.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I don't know. So we'll see. I keep forgetting that game's coming out next month.
Oh really?
Yeah. There's also, people are complaining that We haven't seen any of the evolutions for the starters, which is basically a reaction to
Here's what I
during
say: make it a surprise.
Well, that's what
I
they're
wish more stuff was a surprise.
that's what they're intending to do, because they did it during Sun and Moon and people complained that they revealed too much. So it's they can't
one of
win.
my biggest gripes with, like, I'll use WoW as an example. There's no whenever an expansion comes out, you know everything that's going to be in it, right? I mean, barring a couple things, but overall, it's like that's part of the charm that's lost. I think that's just this day and age in games in general. I think that can be said for most games. There's just not a lot left to, like, really.
Yeah, there's too much of an interest to data mine and learn everything before the game comes out, as part of the hype machine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can't even imagine what would have happened if, like, Ocarina of Time were to come out in this day and age, and, like, all of the, plot twists and everything were spoiled before the game was even released.
Well, I mean, how to work with Breath of the Wild, same thing, right? I don't know.
I mean, there wasn't really a lot of plot twists for Breath of the Wild. Like, Ocarina of Time had a much more cohesive storyline. So, I mean, like, a big one would have been finding out that, like, Sheik is Zelda.
Right. Whoa, bro. Hold off on the spoilers.
You can't. We are outside of the 2-week rule of the Vince Gilligan 2-week rule.
We're beyond the 20-year rule, I think, at this point.
I think so.
97 or 98, probably.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, we're only 19 years and 50 weeks late for that. So, but yeah, so that's what we got for Pokemon Sword and Shield. So yeah, mid-November is when that comes out.
Okay.
So, but let's bounce back up to the top. Fortnite.
Black hole sun, won't you come?
This was such a weird, like, I didn't even hear about it until I saw all these, like, posts and news articles and everything talking about how if you went to log into Fortnite, like, a couple days ago, it was just like you would just see a black hole.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what? So I ended up watching a couple of videos and stuff of things happening, and it's weird for like a matched based game like that. Mm-hmm. But to have, like, basically at a very specific time when, like, basically they were shutting everything down, was if you were within a match, is the meteor that was always up in the sky, like, eventually came crashing down and hit, like, this big rift in the center of the map. Mm-hmm. And then exploded, causing this, like, spatial distortion that flung everybody out into space. And then it all came crashing back in, and then started sucking everything back into this singularity, and it started pulling everybody in. And once you got pulled in, like, it just, like, shut the game down. Like, it then led into, like, all you saw was, it was just black with, like, this basic little ring. Almost like that spooky movie. And then like, your game just shut down. And then that's what happened. Like, if you tried to log in, or if you tried to view, like, the website or whatever, they deleted all their Twitter posts, like, all their social media and everything. So they really committed to this bit. And I guess the idea was that they were going to basically do a revamp of the game. Okay. And that just launched today, I think. So, brand new map with locations. They kind of revamped their like, battle pass structure and how you progress with that and the rewards from that. They added swimming so that you can now swim through water.
I didn't know
boats. So that there's now, like, sort of like those inflatable, like, speedboat type things.
Yep.
That you can jump on with your squad. Mm-hmm. And have one person driving around the speed and on the motorboat, and everybody else, like, shooting people.
Yeah.
And fishing, which seems like a really weird thing
Okay.
to add to that game. It makes me kind of want to try and get back into it just to see what the fishing's like. And it's just like, do you do it in the middle of a match? Like, is there a special mode for fishing? I don't understand.
Nor do I, and
But it's
nor do
great.
I want to.
I just want to be that guy that's just like just sitting out in the middle of in the middle of nowhere, just fishing. I mean, that would make an interesting, like, I don't know, like YouTube series or whatever. Just be like, it's sort of like almost like the pacifist Warcraft player, right? That just like
Right.
leveled up a Pandaren just by like collecting ore and
Yeah.
herbs.
Yeah.
Just be like, yeah. So I'm gonna be I'm gonna be the Fortnite guy that just sits at the edge of the pond and just fishes for the entire match until somebody kills me. Every match. Dumb. It's totally dumb. But that's the kind
Yeah.
of stuff that makes the internet go around.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I thought it was really interesting how they did this event. I'm always a sucker for when games do this like large scale event type stuff. I know we've talked about Final Fantasy 14 did the same thing.
Well, that's because they needed to redo the game. It was such a failure.
But like when Warcraft did it, when Wrath of the Lich King launched, and they did like the big Scourge invasion type thing.
I didn't play at the beginning of Wrath. I came in towards the end.
So what they did,
I quit at the end of BC, and then I came back. I missed like the first half of Wrath.
So what they did was it was like the launch of patch 3.0, I think.
Mm-hmm.
They did like a week-long event where basically like stacks of infected grain would be shipped to all the major cities.
Oh geez.
And you could eat it.
It's too late.
As a player. And what would happen is you get a debuff that would like cause you damage and stuff. And if the debuff killed you, you would turn into a ghoul.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you got killed by a ghoul, you would get turned into a ghoul. And then you would run around and have ghoulish abilities, and you could attack other players.
That's kind of fun.
It basically was like the Death Knight ability where they turn you into a ghoul. Mm-hmm. You had all those abilities, so it was like corpse explosion and infect and like diseased bite and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you were running around like attacking your friends and former allies, and you became hostile to everybody. So it was also a way for like to almost like this weird third faction because you were friendly to every other ghoul, regardless of what faction they initially were.
Mm-hmm.
And then like current players would get like little rewards for every ghoul that they killed, kind of a thing. But yeah, you'd have these like just dead sections of cities where like nobody went because like ghoul players would just pop out and just be like, "Meh." But there was no way to heal you, so like when you died, like you just died.
Right.
And then you get resurrected back as like your regular self. So, but yeah, I love when there's big sort of really cool sort of world shaking events like that. And I like it even better when the company really commits to it outside the game.
Yeah, for sure. Again, Fortnite's not my deal, but I do like that they do lots of little events like this. I like their seasons. Every season's a little bit different.
Yeah.
I like that they change the map and add things, and like, if you're in the game when it happens, stuff happens in your match. Like that's interesting dynamic stuff. I wish, again, being an MMO person, I wish there was more dynamic world stuff that actually mattered or like made the game more interesting. Some games have tried it out. To different levels of success, I would say.
Yep.
But yeah, I think anything that makes a game more dynamic and you're playing in it more meaningful and world affecting, it gives you a feeling of larger agency and control and impact on the game. And in my opinion, that's a good feeling.
Yeah.
I wish more online games would do that or attempt to do things like that. I honestly think that's if MMOs were ever to like become a thing again or succeed again, because they're really not big right now, honestly. In the scheme, their heyday was, I don't know, 10, 11, 12 years ago. Yeah, over a decade ago at this point was their heyday. But I've always said they needed to do more stuff like that. That's the next step for MMOs, if it ever gets to there, was to have the world be able to be changed and impacted by players in the doing stuff in the world, which
Yeah.
I can't think of too many games that have done that very well.
So, I know to a certain extent, Whack Fu does that. That was a game by Square. No, not by Square. It looks like it was made by Square. Um, but it's made by Ankama,
Mm-hmm.
I think. Or maybe it has some. Hang on, I got a poster. Oh, it is partially by Square, by
Okay.
Square Enix.
Maybe
Uh,
just published.
maybe. But it's an MMO. It's
Mm-hmm.
like a tactics style game. So like when
Okay.
you engage with enemies, like you get ported to a battlefield, and do tactics style combat. But all of so most of the resources in game that are like plant based, when they're used up, like they're just gone. Like they don't have an automatic respawn. It's when you do, well, like when you pick it, you get the resources and you also get seeds. So you are reliant on your other players, on your like your fellow players, to be planting seeds, in order to respawn those kinds of resources. And that's also true for monsters as well. So like
Mm-hmm.
monsters tend to not automatically respawn. You have to like plant little monster seeds in order to make stuff
That's
respawn.
interesting.
Yeah, there's also like you just don't get money. You have to craft money using ore.
Interesting.
And yeah, so it makes money like really valuable because like
Okay.
using like teleportation stuff costs money. So there's like money sinks in the game, but there's no way to just like when you complete quests and stuff, you're not given like cash rewards.
If you want to play a game that's, if you like the money making part of games, play Black Desert Online. That game is just about the economy
Yeah.
and manipulating it and working with it, and yeah, it's crazy. And also if you just like grinding
Yeah.
the level.
But what I mean is like you actually it's you have to mint money. Like it takes like
Yeah.
10 ore and you get like
Yeah.
1 coin. And that's the only way to get cash.
I wonder how hard that is, because I would think you can just inflate the economy by just making more and more money.
Um you could in theory.
I don't know how the economy works in that game, so I don't know how
Yeah.
value is assigned to the currency, and I don't know
Yeah.
like what services and acts you can do that you would trade currency for. So it's
Yeah,
hard to
there's a bunch of
know.
stuff that basically costs money to do, on top of other resources. Uh, and as I said, like because the way the game works is you often have to use waypoints to get from like one place to another. Is it costs a certain amount of money just to be able to to go to a new area.
Mm-hmm.
So, uh, yeah, it's almost like if you had like so in Warcraft, how there are times when like they'll let you like in order to get to a new area, you'll take like a flight path to get there, but it's
Mm-hmm.
free.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this would be like, nah, you got to pay still.
Okay. I mean, still my favorite of all time, with a world that changed because of players, was Warhammer Online, which was a
Mm-hmm.
PvP game, and it was literally about pushing and changing territory
Yep.
and getting into the opposing faction's city, and you can only do that by literally taking over other like zones,
Mm-hmm.
whatever faction zones and stuff.
Yeah.
That was my favorite version of that. But let's see, Guild Wars 2, I think, did some dynamic stuff. There's a game called Rift I played that
Yep.
had like just like random dynamic, like portals would spawn in a zone and like monsters would invade a zone, and
Yep.
like random quests would pop up. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. I think, like I said, I wish I would just kind of integrate all those systems, and it's just the technology's got to be there. You have to have like really good, probably some type of AI or computer learning in your game to be able to pull that off and make it feel natural
Yep.
and like different every time. Otherwise, after you do it a couple times, it's like, okay, yeah, I've seen this.
Or at the very least, just willing to permanently change your game on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
Which I feel like a lot of companies aren't willing to do that because it's
also
a lot of
putting
investment.
that's putting a lot of power in the players' hands.
Oh yeah.
And players have a way of
players tend to vote against their own best
finding
interests.
Interesting ways to do things that developers weren't expecting.
Yeah.
That may be game breaking.
Yes. 100%.
So, you can't plan for everything in those aspects because of the human element. Yeah. But yeah. To the original point. Yeah. Cool. Fortnite, not my game, but I like that they do stuff like that.
It's enough where I was like, man, I wish I had friends to play Fortnite with so we could just drive around on boats. Because that looked fun. So, and just a quick thing. So, director of Venom, Ruben Fleischer, said, according to what site was this on? Drap. I can't remember what site it was on, but IGN was also reporting it. So that according to this director, Sony is working toward a confrontation between Tom Hardy's Venom and Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Oh, via fandom. I wrote it right in the show notes. Of course. It's been that kind of a week. So, so we might get a Tom versus Tom movie.
Okay. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I didn't watch Venom.
I
heard
didn't
it was
either.
All right.
Yeah. I heard it was surprisingly good.
Yeah, I didn't hear strong feelings about it either way, honestly.
Yeah.
People were just like, better than the Venom in Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, but that it definitely painted him more as like an anti-hero than like a straight-up villain.
Kind of the deal. Well, it depends on the comic run, I guess.
Yes. So the thought is that it might be something like almost like a Batman versus Superman thing.
Oh boy.
And then, like they're
Why'd you say that name?
They're against each other for like most of the movie, and then all of a sudden like Carnage comes out and they have to band together to fight Carnage.
Ooh, there's a really good game on Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis called Maximum Carnage. It's a Spider-Man game. It's awesome. If you play as Venom or Spider-Man, it's really good. Just maybe that's one of my favorite 16-bit games. That was was that 16-bit era?
Yes.
32. I can't remember.
Genesis and Super Nintendo were 16-bit.
16. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite games of that generation. It's great. Maximum Carnage. It's really good. It's kind of expensive to buy.
Ooh.
Yeah, a lot of classic games are now.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just that's just a little bit of tidbit that we might see since they did sign Tom Holland on for 2 more films.
Yeah,
as Spider-Man. They worked out a deal.
They kissed and made up.
Yep.
Sure.
So, and if he gets those 2, he will be the Spider-Man with the most movies over Tobey Maguire. Still Tobey for now. So
they need to get him in somehow.
They should. What they should do is they should make another Spider-Verse movie.
That's what I was just thinking.
The 3 live-action Spider-Man.
Yeah, like how do you do that? And do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
And they can all be Peter Parker.
Yeah.
But just, Peter Parker from Universe X and Peter Parker from Universe Q and Peter Parker from Universe...
No, they're numbered.
I know they're numbered. But I don't feel like making up numbers.
Yeah, I don't know the numbers. I'm not that deep in the comics.
Although I think DC also does the numbering.
Probably.
One. So
makes sense.
But yeah. And then 10-year anniversary for League of Legends. So Riot had a whole bunch of announcements for new stuff.
So
a lot of announcements.
I used to play League a bit, probably about 10 years ago when it first came out.
And I will jump in and say Courtney also used to play League.
I know,
since she's not here.
And I've played a couple times off and on since then. And I've actually been thinking about playing it again since I don't want to go through playing all my Heroes of the Storm stuff again, starting on a new account. But it'd be the same thing in League anyway, trying to earn heroes and stuff. So that's just not part of it I want to go through. But so yeah, that came out 10 years ago, and that's a game that's not really changed. Well, I guess I won't say that. The map's not changed that much. The map's been basically the map forever. As far from my point of view, again, people who play the game a lot, they're like, no, they've changed it so much. But the basic shape of the map and the basic game mechanics have been the same. Lots of new heroes and stuff have been added. But it looks like they're trying to diversify what games they're doing and trying to get into some different genres. So one of the first things they announced was a new, and it's not just a port of League, but they're doing a League of Legends for mobile and console.
Interesting.
Yeah. So one of the things they said was like, and it's so a League game can be a half hour to an hour or more long, depending on your match and what's going on.
Yep.
And they're like, well, we've heard a lot of people say they just like, you don't have time to play League as much anymore. So we wanted to find a way to do that. So I forget what it's called. It might be called Guardians Rift. But these matches were like, they'll be 20-minute matches, and they'll be on mobile and console. And it's like going to be some twin stick control scheme. So I'll be curious to see that. I think it's also a way to get a lot of younger people, because a lot of I having worked around kids a lot of kids don't play PC, they play console. Everything is console with kids. So I think it's kind of a good way to kind of tap into that demographic. And
absolutely,
I think that our style appeals to it, because again, it looks very Fortnite-ish and that type of deal. So I think that's the play on that, in addition to like, yeah, older people just can't commit to, you want to play 3 matches, you need about 3 hours of time. That's your whole evening essentially once you get home from work, right? Exactly. And you get 3 matches and that's it. So that's a hard thing to do. That's one thing I like about Heroes, because
and then knowing how most of our matches go.
Heroes match is like 20, maybe 30 minutes max 30 minutes. So that's the one thing I always liked about Heroes. And Heroes had like all the different maps and different like, that's a different story. But that's one of the things they talked about. They announced they're working on an FPS game. They didn't. I think it's going to be an Overwatch type game, is what I gathered. So that in the same vein of a hero arena shooter, whatever the heck that genre is called. They didn't show too much of it, and then all the footage they did show looked like very early alpha.
I wonder if all the Team Fortress 2 purists are going to be out in full force against that one too.
I don't know. I don't care. You can like whatever game you like, whatever.
Or as I saw it called, what was it, Hat Trading Simulator?
Yeah, pretty much. And I've never played that game either. So again, those aren't my type of game. Yeah. But what is they are working on a fighting game. They showed almost nothing of it, and they're like, yes, we're working on it. Don't ask us anything about it for like 2 years, because we're just gonna go back to working on it. So like, yes, we're working on it, and that's all you're gonna get, and you'll see it in a few years probably. It's like, okay, cool. What they did show looked very much like Street Fighter. So
okay,
for me, I'm in. I always like to try different fighters. They announced a card game, so getting into the competition with Magic and Hearthstone, and I guess now's the time to jump on Hearthstone with that ship floating. And Gwent and whatever the heck else is out there for games, which is weird because they've got Teamfight Tactics, and they also talked about some stuff with Teamfight Tactics, and like there'll be changes and stuff in that and what they're gonna do and whatever. But Teamfight Tactics is it feels somewhat like a card game to some extent. Obviously different. It's an auto chess game, but those auto chess games kind of have a card game feel to them, in my opinion. Yeah. At least I think that was the basis of the creation. It's a weird combination of like chess and cards, like card games. But they're doing a full out CCG thing. I think it'll be in beta. They said early next year, but they just, because I noticed this on Twitch the other day. I saw this. I'm like, oh, what's this new game on Twitch that's trending at the top? And I clicked it and I was like, oh, it's a League card game. So
Hmm.
they did like a 5-day, like you can get in this 5-day beta, and a bunch of like the main like Teamfight Tactics and LoL streamers got it too, and they were streaming it. I didn't watch much of it because it was like, oh, card game. I don't know. It has to be. I played a lot of Magic the Gathering in my life. I don't,
Yep.
and I think I've burned myself out on card games and buying packs and spending money on cards, and to do that digitally seems even of less value to me.
Yeah.
Granted, I think card games are fun, but there's just so many, and to pick one that I really like it's just an investment of time, right? To see if you really like
Oh
it,
yeah.
and like to find decks you like. That alone in one game takes a long time to find what you like as far as playing style, and see if that's even like worth playing, or if it just
Well, and then
sucks.
just their business model of like rotating stuff in and out
Right.
is just like it becomes too much to keep up with.
Which is, you kind of have to
Yeah.
do that, just because to if you want to be creative and create new cards and do cool new things,
Yeah.
you're going to start running into weird interactions with cards that already exist, which
Yep.
is fine. And sometimes they're fun, good interactions. Sometimes they're just jank, broken interactions that make the game unfun because
Yeah.
they're not fun. So you kind of have to do. Magic's been doing that as well. They've always had a standard style of play, which is like the last year's worth of cards is what you can use in standard.
Yep.
And so their design is based around that. If you want to do weird, if you want to play with every card available, they do have those. But I mean, what you get is like turn 1 or turn 2,
Oh yeah.
you lose
They
games,
turn into
right?
super combos
Like
where
these
like
crazy infinite mana combos and things like that.
yeah.
So
Well, and then
whatever,
it's
if that's your deal, cool,
you
fine.
get the guys that are like, okay, turn 1, Black Lotus, I'll play 2 Moxes.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh, then I'll play, this like super combo card that
Hmm.
lets me draw like 10 cards. Yeah.
So yeah, and Magic is always done like, so they have standard, which is the basic, like this
Yeah.
is our main league or whatever, and then there's another one that goes like the best like few years worth of cards, and then there's just like here's every card ever, and then there's Commander, which is kind of a different
Yep.
thing altogether because it's 100 cards and you can only have one of any given card, whereas in regular you can have 4 of any given card in a deck. Um, Riot was saying like their main thing was, one of them, and we'll see, was they're like, we know it's kind of sucks to have to buy cards and do all these microtransactions to get cards and packs and stuff. And they said one
Yep.
of the things we want to do is kind of not have that be a focus of the game. So I didn't pay too much attention to it, because I was listening to it in the background as I was playing WoW,
Yeah.
and I'll see what that looks like. Again, it's a card game, so I'm not super hyped into it. I'm sure I'll see it on my peripheral and check it out on Twitch when they stream it, and
Yeah.
if it looks good, I may give it a shot eventually next year. But I don't see myself doing it. I just think it's interesting that Riot is diversifying what they're doing. And the last thing they announced was an animated series based around their League of Legends world. Like, so there is like a world and
Yeah.
characters and a story that they've been building on in League, more so in the past few years than early on.
Yeah.
Um,
I
which
mean, we
I'm all
saw that
for
with
that.
like their various music videos and stuff.
Yeah. So, and I think they've also been doing like comics and short stories, or maybe even web comics for some of their
I think
characters
I've seen
too.
some of that stuff. Yeah.
There was, what was it? I used to play a MOBA. What the heck was it called? This was back in like 2014, but whatever. The thing I liked about it most was every week they published like a web comic about the
Hmm.
characters, and it had a really cool like these interweaving storylines, and that's what I really liked. And I picked like the characters I played based on, oh, I like this character in the web comic. I forget what it's called, but it uh classic EA, they bought it and shut it down.
Oh
Um,
no. Oh.
yeah. So, and I get it because from that standpoint, you're going into, at that point, was a very saturated market, and it still is a saturated market with MOBAs, and you're going up
Yeah.
against Dota 2 and League of Legends at the time. This was before HOTS even came out. So
Yep.
just those two games alone, it's hard to compete against that. So I'm sure
Yeah.
EA wasn't making a heck of a lot of money. But I like that League is focusing on like the characters and world building. They did mention something about maybe some type of adventure game in the world at some point, but they didn't announce anything official. I think that would be interesting as well.
Yeah.
That stuff's more up my alley. But I think it's interesting that they're diversifying and trying to change what they do. And good move. I mean, I would have to imagine that company probably has as much money, if not more, than Blizzard.
Probably.
League is always number one on Twitch, so a lot of people play that game and pay attention to that game. It's insane. So I think it's probably a good move on them to diversify, because you never know when that MOBA thing is gonna kind of become unpopular. And I mean, you're starting to see, and I don't know, it's hard because I feel like the whole what's the genre for Fortnite and Apex and all that called? It's battle royales.
Battle Royale.
Yep. Battle royales seems to be the popular thing, but I don't know if, do you feel like it still is super popular right now?
So that's the thing. I mean, Fortnite isn't dominating the news cycle like it was maybe like a year or two ago.
Yeah.
So that I'm not sure.
So I'm just looking on Twitch right now. Okay, what's Fortnite's number one?
I mean, Fortnite's probably up there with the new map.
Fortnite's number one. This League of Legends card games is number 2.
Okay.
And then League of Legends is 3.
Okay. What's number 4?
Actually, number 3 is actually just chatting, but I'm skipping that because it's not a game. But number 4 is GTA 5. And then
that's interesting.
Counter-Strike.
Yeah.
I mean, you're the top row is like Fortnite, League, WoW is upright, still running popular right now.
Yeah.
Counter-Strike is always up there.
Yep.
Apex, Dota 2. And then the next row you have like your FIFAs and 2Ks and stuff like that, which always kind of. But I mean, what point was I getting at here? Oh,
Battle Royale maybe.
So
perhaps like waning at some point.
Waning, and does this diversifying in that Riot's doing kind of like, are they just looking out to the future and seeing like maybe League one day will just not be the force that it is? I mean, in the end, it's just a good business move to diversify anyway.
Yeah.
So I'll be curious to see how it all plays out.
You know, even if League decides it gets cemented, you know, like Counter-Strike did, you know, it certainly doesn't hurt them to, as you were saying, diversify out into other genres and see, because who knows, you know, they may end up with a couple breakout hits.
It's so funny that CS is that popular. I don't hear a lot of talk about it, honestly.
Yeah, right. Like nobody ever really talks about it, except like you can watch TBS and see people playing Counter-Strike on TBS.
Oh, I see. I know.
Yes. Yeah. TBS had it was showcasing like Counter-Strike esports on it, but it was only Counter-Strike.
It's funny. So you see the demographic split. Kids in school were talking about games, and they're like, Modern Warfare. Yeah, I can't wait for Modern Warfare. I was like, oh, what about Counter-Strike? And they're like, that game sucks. It's like always in the top 5 games on Twitch.
Yep.
Like, it's
clearly. But I mean, look at how many people bash Fortnite. You know. So it's, you know.
I think that's a game carried by, I don't know, that it's, I don't know. I think it's popular, and this is just me, I think it's popular with very young kids. And I think a lot of young kids watch the streamers who are playing it. And I think a lot of streamers who play it just play it because it gets views by a lot of young kids.
I mean, maybe.
I'm not entirely convinced that a lot of the streamers are super into that game. I think they're just like, oh, this is what's going to make the money right now, right? It doesn't mean they don't enjoy it entirely. I just think, like, imagine playing the same game. Well, I play WoW all day. So imagine playing. I don't know.
I mean, because here's the thing:
Well,
like
here's
PUBG
the
was
thing.
supposed to be the next
There
big
will come a
thing.
point. There will become a point where I stop enjoying. Well, I'm sure it will. There'll become a point where I stop enjoying a game, and I'll stop playing it. I won't keep playing it just because. So, but imagine like feeling like it's your job to play Fortnite every day. There has to be a point at some time where it's just like you're burned out on it, and you're just not having fun with it anymore.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
gotta be.
actually, here's what might be a better example of that. So, because at least like with Fortnite, because it's PvP, like there's always a certain element that's changing with it from match to match.
So yeah, so that's like
now think about
the dynamic of playing against other people makes something a little. It makes every game feel somewhat different. Yes.
the folks that like are sort of like semi-professionally streaming like Dauntless or Monster Hunter, but more so Dauntless, because like because it's not PvP and there's only so much content.
Mm-hmm.
Like eventually, yeah, like you get to a point where it's just like optimization and grinding. Which I guess you could argue like that's also the case with like raiding in Warcraft. Like if you're in like a top tier guild and it's just like the whole point is to eventually get it so that
yeah. I mean,
you have it on farm status, and then it's like trying to push like your clears and everything, and then doing that. Although there's still loot drops and stuff, so I mean there's still that incentive. But yeah.
Well, particularly in retail because of Titan forging.
Yes.
So you might get the piece of gear you want, but if it's not Titan forged, it's not optimal, right?
Yep.
So you got to keep going back to try to get that.
Yeah.
Lucky RNG.
So
I don't like that because
I don't like it either.
It's a little. It's obviously to get you to put more time in the game and keep, buying subscriptions. And it just feels like that. Doesn't. I don't know. But that's, again, this is me as I've gotten older, and in those games, like, I just want my gear, and once I'm done with the raid, I'm done with the raid, and I'll probably not, I might do PvP or something, but, like, I don't want to have to feel like I have to do these dailies. I don't want to have to feel like I have to grind.
And the funny thing is,
points or whatever. Or
an easy way, Blizzard could have easily gotten people to stay subbed and everything if they didn't do stuff like Titan forging and War forging and stuff like that, right? And putting sort of extraneous RNG elements in the game, and instead player housing. Because that is proven to get people to just sit in game and just never leave.
I don't know why.
It's inexplicable.
Like that.
It eventually, from what I understand, it kind of caused the downfall of was it not Wild Arms? Maybe it was Wild Arms. It was WildStar, yeah. Because it was like they gave you a house at like level 15. Yeah. And so then what happened was everybody went to their houses and then just did house stuff. And so like there was this gap of like there were no players around between level 15 and like level 60.
You have to put rewards for your housing in high tier content to make people want to do the high tier content. So not just stat gear that makes my character more powerful, but just visually aesthetic, like nice gear. And that they kind of have that in WoW with like you can go and get gear and you can transmog and do stuff like that. But you want that for housing and like, hey, come look at the cool stuff in my house. And a lot of games do that. So
Whack Food does that actually.
Final Fantasy 14, I'm pretty sure does that. Here's an interesting thing about Final Fantasy 14. There's a limited amount of houses. Not everybody gets a house. So like when I was playing this,
interesting.
Like when a house goes off the market, there's a random timer of when it will be available to buy. So so you can't just like pass it off to other people.
Yeah.
Like it's a random between like 8 and 24 hours. Sometime around then it'll be able to pop up and you'll be able to buy it. But it's limited housing, which I don't know if it's good or bad, but it's interesting. It's an interesting thing because I don't care that much about housing, but I kind of wanted one when one was up for sale just to have one.
Yeah.
to say I had a spot. Um, it's a weird thing. I've been thinking about that a lot. Is just living in digital worlds like this.
Yep.
That just because I've had time to think about it. It's like it's a weird
Yep.
thing. And then I'm like, is it a bad thing or is it just a thing? And that's hard to say.
Yeah.
It's just something I've been thinking. It's a weird thing.
I would say, well, so my answer would be I don't know. And I say this as someone that will be totally picking up Animal Crossing in March. You know? Like, because that's the whole point of that game.
Well, for me, it's not like the housing or the farming or fishing or anything like that. It's about being the best at what I do and being recognized for being the best at what I do. So this is
Being the
also
best interior decorator.
so this is a lot of my actual personality, and like whenever I do something, I want to be the best at it.
Yep.
Like at any, like when I have a job, when I like do any other type of work, when I DM or do DM, like I want to be the best possible at that thing because I don't know, for some weird reason I have this competitive thing ingrained in my head. But that's the same in like in WoW. It's in the real world. It's really hard to
Yep.
do that and get meaningful recognition for that. And there's in the real world, there's so many people. There's always somebody better than you.
Yes.
And you're easily replaced in a lot of things.
Yeah.
Again, a lot of things I've been thinking about lately.
Yeah.
And sorry. Well, this all came from. I'm sorry, I'm getting into this kind of deep thing, but just when you have a lot to think about, this is things that come up. But in like MMO or a lot of online games, honestly, like it's rewards are concrete for the most part, and you know the path you need to take to get them. And like once you learn the basic mechanics of the game and you can pull that off, like you can start working directly towards your goals. And it's like you can map it out and it's easy to do, and there's not too many things blocking your way or trying to throw you off course, or there and other people can't really do that to you too much. Whereas as opposed to the real world, they're like our society is predicated on people trying to step on you and move up. Like that's capitalism. Sorry to get a little political, but
or at the very least, if there are things trying to prevent you in a game, it's presented as a challenge to overcome.
As a challenge to overcome. Yes.
And that's part of the fun.
And not a boot to keep you down.
Yeah.
So that's I think that's one of the reasons I like playing. In addition to, I really like socializing with the people I've met online. Like I've been playing with the same group of people for like 8 or 9 years at this point because I like them a lot. It's just like it's really easy to be recognized and feel powerful and like feel like you're contributing and doing your part in a game like World of Warcraft or a lot of MMOs or a lot of online games. For me, that you get that good feeling of like worth and value.
Yeah.
Whereas sometimes, a lot of times, it's hard to come by in the real world. I feel like.
Yeah.
So yeah, just something I've been musing on. I don't even know how we got.
Well, and it's just the fact that there's achieving a goal in like an MMO because it gives you like somewhat tangible rewards. Also gives you a little dopamine hit.
Right.
Whereas like you could do something that is equally, if not more, taxing in real life, but because like you don't get like doing the laundry, like the no, unless you have it set out. I mean, if only we could figure out some way where like something would spit money out at us, even if it's just from like our own bank account, just to spit money out at you. Say like, oh, if I do the laundry, this thing will spit money out at me. Oh yeah, I'll do all the laundry.
Like, I feel like my hard work in video games pays off in the game, right?
Yeah.
Whereas
and it's very easy to see how it pays off,
and you see the results. And in the real world, a lot of times your hard work doesn't always pay off, or it's not as easy to see the benefits of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just
an
interesting thing to think about. And I was wondering whether that's a good or bad thing, or if it's just a thing, or it's just an interesting thing to think about. If I were a psychology or sociology student, I would probably do some research on that, and I'm sure there probably has been.
Yeah.
I'd have to
Oh,
imagine
yeah.
there's been research on this, but
Quite a bit.
I think that's an interesting thing to look into, and I'd also be interested to look into relationships and friendships and via gaming as opposed to like real world relationships, because
Yeah.
I feel like the people who've been my really good friends my whole life that I grew up with, and people like, I feel like I've lost touch with them over the years. And I think that happens with a lot of people just as you grow up and become adults. But people I play online games with, I feel like they know me better than people I know in the real world, just because I talk with them almost every day when we're playing games together. It's like a weird thing.
Yeah,
But
I certainly,
John wants to.
even though my guild basically broke up,
Mm-hmm.
and I haven't really met up or chatted with a lot of my guild mates, I still feel a lot closer to them than I do with like a lot of folks that I know in real life these days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they also helped me through some tough times when, yeah, like people that I knew in real life like weren't helping me. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's also like a very weird thing. Like these people at the time that I had never met in person were providing more support. Of course, then I met them in person. So
I've still not met any of
yeah.
these people in person. We've been playing together for years and years and years.
Yep. So yeah.
It's a weird, strange times we live in.
Yes.
Is my basic conclusion at this point.
Yes.
It's like strange times.
It is the strangest timeline.
Yeah.
So to wrap up the news, just in so I think we might have talked about it last week on all the games that were like coming out in like the next 2 weeks on the Switch and how it's super busy. Totally forgot about things like The Witcher 3, which is out
Wild guy.
right now.
Is it? Wow. Yeah,
I believe it came out today.
That's too much. It's too much.
So yeah. So that the Baldur's Gate games,
Also no time for those.
Ring Fit Adventure, and then I was just going through and just adding stuff to my Amazon wish list. Pillars of Eternity 2 is at the end of December.
Oh, I played that once. I'm good.
Yeah. I just wonder, like, I'm just like, oh, is it going to include like the Vox Machina DLC?
Probably.
Can I pay more to have the Vox Machina DLC?
Don't you have that on PC anyway?
I have it on Steam. Yeah.
Yeah, so you got it.
I don't need it.
Yeah.
But so yeah. Just there's a lot of stuff. So, and I was just like, you know what, just throw it all into the wish list.
Yeah.
Since
I
I haven't even played
so lots of stuff.
I haven't even played Link's Awakening yet.
I was just gonna say, have you? Yeah.
Nope.
No.
It's yeah.
Heard it's pretty good.
That'll be because every time that I get a chance, I'm like, I have like an hour, and it's like late at night, and I'm like, it's too late. I want to have like a nice chunk of time to sit down and get into it and really, yeah.
Yeah, when like an hour doesn't feel like enough time to play a game.
Yeah, I know, right?
I know.
So, but yeah, so that's gonna wrap up the general news for the week. So why don't we just get in really quick on what's going on with 8-Bit Adventures? All right, so we had a comic this week. Finally went back. Did an actual 8-Bit Adventures comic. Just getting back into the storyline and doing that. So that's up on the site. Also did a Speedy and Monty comic this week. So for patrons, go check that out. It's starting to get into the spooky season, so there will be a whole bunch of costume themed comics. And also up on the site. So because I'm not porting over Game Night or the art stream anymore to YouTube, that also means that they're not going to go up on the site. But instead, I'm going to be posting whatever artwork I'm working on. Going to make more of an effort to post artwork in the sort of post schedule. So we have the commission for Heather up on there of her D&D character. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I'm really liking how these commissions are turning out. And That said, I do think I'm going to have to revise some of the language on the commission structure because it's a little vague right now, just to sort of set expectations for people. So, namely, your piece, Josh, might require a little bit more than just like the standard
I would think.
commission, if it's going to be multiple characters. So what I might do is make another higher tier where it's like doing like a group portrait or something.
Yeah.
Basically.
That's a good move.
Yeah.
Because, there's different levels of effort you have to put into a piece of art, right? So doing a character sketch is one thing, and that might take some time. But to do a detailed, like, group, for lack of a better term, group photo, like with a background and action and multiple people at different varying, distances and perspectives.
And then here's the thing, the line art would probably be not as the line art would be less of a jump because it takes less effort to do a group line art commission than it does to do a group color commission.
Yeah.
So I mean the group color commissions might be somewhere in the range of like maybe I want to say maybe like 300 to 400 pie cakes.
Yeah.
Because right now, singular one is 60.
That's a bit low.
It is, but I figured this is based on the fact that like you accrue 1 pie cake for every 10 minutes you watch a stream.
That's true.
So it requires something like 10 hours of stream watching.
So I think probably what's happening now is you're just getting the first wave of people getting to that. So it feels like there's a lot of commissions being requested.
Yep. Well, I've got certain people like Driz in the chat that have been consistently watching like almost every stream.
Yeah.
Or having it on the background and then racking up, like 400 or 500 pie cakes for sitting on that right now. And basically nobody's been picking up like the extra streams or the overcooked one or getting Monty on stream, which those are supposed to be the big ticket items, but so I may have to just adjust some stuff. So for anybody that's thinking about requesting a group portrait, I'll be adding that as a tier in there. So just hold off until I get that set up. But yeah. Then as far as this week, there's going to be 8-Bit Adventures Game Night. I'm going to be playing Untitled Goose Game. Based on what I heard, might even finish Untitled Goose Game on stream.
I don't think it's very long.
It's more of just what you make of it.
Yeah.
I think. I have seen videos of things where it's like stealing every possible item you can steal in the game and just throwing it into a pile.
Yeah.
Or doing weird stuff. Somebody doing a speed run and finishing it in like 8 minutes. It was like just being very efficient in how you do things. And then a very special spooky edition of Tales of Jamora Leaf Dancer this week. Ooh, spooky. Because I realized our next session is like the day after Halloween. And I was like, well, you can't do a Halloween stream after Halloween.
No.
So.
No, you could.
You can't.
You do whatever you want.
Nah. That now we're in turkey season on the 1st of November. So
I guess that's true.
Yeah, it's officially turkey time at that point.
My parents said they saw Christmas decorations somewhere in a store.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Halloween hasn't even happened
Oh.
yet.
So, and then I guess further maybe once we reach December, we might do like a special like couple of one-shots or something, holiday themed one-shots. Maybe get Tuck to run rescuing, was it Saint Olaf the Barbarian? Using Tales from the Floating Vagabond so that we can actually finish that adventure. And we'll do it on stream. So, and that's it. I mean, that's basically what we got going on.
All right.
I am kind of enjoying like the sort of adjusted stream schedule. And one of the things that I'll be doing is putting up a poll. So I've talked about for a long time about doing the comics, the 8-Bit Adventures comics, in book form. Now I'm wondering is whether to like continue trying to do them as a full-on color, like graphic novel compendium, or just leaving it black and white. And I think I'll leave it up to viewers and readers, like people that would in theory purchase the product. Because on the one hand, I mean, it's nicer if it would be in full color, but it would take a lot more time to produce. And it would cost a lot more money. So, whereas if it was just black and white, like I can start putting the actual book together now, and we might see it in this decade. So, and that is it. So, why don't we get into this week's quest log then? So quest log is where we discuss kind of what's been going on and what sort of stuff we've been playing or pop culture content that we've been consuming and doing a deep dive on it. So, Josh, you just still on WoW Classic?
Yeah.
Any other topics besides WoW Classic?
Just WoW Classic. So I hit 60 in WoW Classic.
Oh, well, there you go.
The other day.
Now you're done.
No. So now it's looking for like doing all the high level dungeons and trying to get my pre-raid best in slot items, which is, as a shaman, it's also annoying. It's all leather. Even though I wear mail, all my best stuff is leather.
That's weird.
Yeah, I mean,
is it devil sore leather?
Yeah, that's the more the gloves and the pants for that because it gets hit. So like,
I know hunters are kind of in that weird spot too.
So are fury warriors. It's all, if you're any melee or any type of physical damage, you're all looking for the same stuff. So it's just that doing high level, which is fun because I can group with all my friends and we can do dungeons together and talk smack and BS while we're doing dungeons, which is for me the fun bit of playing the game. It's the game itself, as we were talking before, it's whatever. I played this game 15 years ago. I know the deal, but it's not the game itself. It's playing with a group of people. The game is passable. It's fine. But I did Molten Core the other day. We got everything except Rag down.
Oh, nice.
So yeah. Allegedly, we're doing a Nixia tonight. I don't know. At this point, if we started, I probably missed it, which is fine.
Oh no,
I didn't have my attunement done anyway.
Oh, so that's true. Yeah.
So yeah, doing the 2 raids that are out. Dire Maul, another high level dungeon came out yesterday.
Yep.
It's not that interesting to me. I did it. I did a couple.
Did they release the entirety of it? Because I know it's separate wings. Okay,
all 3 wings. Sorry. I did the east and west yesterday. I haven't done the north part, which is fine. Nothing in there is that interesting to me. But again, some friends were doing it, so I did it with them. So yeah, just working on that and patiently waiting for Battlegrounds and stuff to come out because that's the main thing.
Twink PvP. Level 29 Twink PvP?
No, level 60 PvP in Classic because that's when it was good.
Okay.
That's the main thing. That's when there wasn't. That's not. Again, my complaint about retail is everybody has stuns and crowd control, and it's really annoying, and it's not as fun.
Yeah.
In this, there is some of that, but it's not as wide of an extent as it is in the retail version. And to me, PvP is fun when it's a little more focused and it's not as crazy, and you're not losing agency over your character as much. It's not fun to sit there stunned forever. Granted, rogues can do that and it's annoying, but not everybody has stuns and fears and everything. So it's more manageable and it feels more fun to me. So there'll be Twink stuff too, of course. I've been thinking about that, and I made an alt just to mess around. I might make a couple others to see if there's anything that feels fun to play, and I'll keep playing it until I'm bored of it, or until the friends I'm playing with don't play anymore. So whichever comes first, honestly. So yeah, that's what I've been doing as far as games. Still reading my live ship trilogy,
Nice.
and I'm always thinking a lot about D&D stuff.
Yep.
Particularly because I have a lot of time too right now, and
Yeah.
I've been kind of designing some adventures and some short one shots and some other stuff that I may do. So I'm thinking about doing some writing, creating some
Ooh.
adventures and trying to
Yeah.
publish adventures on DM's Guild.
Yeah.
I've had some ideas float in my head, so it's just a matter of me putting them down and actually making them something other than just ideas floating in my head, and seeing how, because it's the same as when I plan for our games, right? So I usually think and think and think and think about a session, and then usually the day before it's like, okay, write it all down and
Yeah.
put all these ideas that are floating down, and then it's usually like, oh, this doesn't work, I have to add it
And
and
then we
adjust. So
might get through the first quarter of it.
well, then I'm like, I don't think I have enough. I'm always like, I don't think I have enough, and then I'm like, oh man, I have a lot.
Yep.
Which is good. So yeah, there's a lot of things because I have time because of personal things going on. Like thinking about what I want to do, right? So I really am passionate about D&D and world building and entertaining people and making people feel stuff in my games, and trying to find a way to do that on a larger level. So yeah, thinking about writing adventures and actually writing. Something I want to do for a long time is actually write and do short stories and maybe even a book or two.
Yeah.
Not necessarily fantasy either, because like I said, I have lots of ideas bumping around my head. So yeah, working on that stuff. If anything ever comes of it, of course, I'll talk about it on here and
Yeah.
try to reach an audience with it. But
Yeah.
that's what I've been up to.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I finished River City Girls.
Oh, nice.
Yep. Yeah. So basically,
I've seen the ending. So what do you think?
yeah. So spoilers for anybody that's would be super upset about spoiling the ending of a beat 'em up game
Hell,
or whatever. So you have been warned. So if you don't want to hear what happens at the end of River City Girls, pause or tune out now. Okay, you've been warned. So yeah, the fact that the boys were taking a spa day, and then they get there and they're like, "Who are you?"
Like, what are your names again?
Oh, it's those girls that like. Oh, I don't remember their names. Just those girls that follow us around. I was just like, "Are you kidding me right now?" Like, because it calls into question then, like, because it shows them in the intro of like them hanging out and everything, and like.
But was that
all,
just
like,
in the girls' heads? Was it just
yeah,
in their imagination?
It's like. So it calls that into a whole thing into question. But after fighting through that stuff, it's like they better darn well be their boyfriends. These girls just basically beat up the entire city.
Too, right? Don't you unlock
yes.
the boys to play through them?
Yeah.
Something somewhat annoying to me is you still get the same cutscenes of the girls in the game, even if you're playing as the boys. You don't get like different dialogue or anything, which is a bit of an annoyance to me because I think whatever, you have deadlines and stuff, you want to get the game out, and I get it, and that's a lot of extra work and extra writing and voice acting and blah, 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 and money. I get it, but if you're gonna do that,
it would have been nice
as well. Even if you don't voice act it, just put in the dialogue or something. I don't know. Again, I'm sure it costs money to have a writer and do all that extra work. I get it. It's just it's a nice touch, I think.
Yeah,
it makes the game feel a little less polished to me. That it didn't do that.
Yeah.
But that being said, it's still a fun game.
Also, yellowfin tuna, best weapon in the game.
Yeah,
still hands down. Megan and I also finished Stranger Things 3.
Oh, yeah,
we finally did. We finally watched through it.
Really good season.
Really good season.
I think it's maybe the best season. I think I like it definitely better than 2. I think I'd like it better than the first season.
Yeah, I think really?
Annyeonghaseyo.
Had to mute the office phone.
I am surprised you have a landline.
It's part of the cable package.
Okay.
Cable internet package. So, it's fine. Whatever. But yeah, so I think my favorite moment still comes from season 2, where it's like Steve bonding with Dustin.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think
the
that's my
best part
favorite
of season 1.
moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did really enjoy season 3 a lot more
I
than
like
season 2.
what's the new characters? The girl who works with Steve.
Robin.
Yeah, she's great. Favorite character probably.
Yeah. Also, the fact that they did that weird never-ending story.
Yes.
They said it was karaoke in the cuz they showed it as like a trailer for the thing. So like the whole series I'm like waiting for this, and I'm like when is this going to happen? Cuz when's Susie going to show up? And then when it happened I was like, are you serious? Like this it's spectacular how they introduce
it's
it.
great.
It's great. It was we were just dying at that part.
It's such a great song too.
It made me want to go and see if I have from like, God, at this point, like almost.
Also, watch Neverending Story. It's the best flipping movie.
Is I have from circa like 2002, maybe 2001, 2002, some kind of like air rave mix of the Neverending Story theme.
Of course.
That our friend Tuck downloaded onto my computer at the time via LimeWire. way back in ye olden days.
Yes.
I think it's still there somewhere.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, yeah. So we watched it. It was great. We have our own theories as to what's going forward. That Netflix and the not the Russo brothers. That's Marvel. The other brothers.
Duffer Brothers.
The Duffer, yeah. They've been kind of mum on the status of certain actors and characters.
Don't. I don't know. I have my opinion on that.
Yeah. But
yeah.
They also so it has been renewed for a 4th season.
Yep. They put a little
and they showed a teaser and they said we're not in Hawkins anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody's like going crazy with conspiracy theories about
Motherland.
that. Yep. So but yeah. And then I've been getting into Magic the Gathering Puzzle Quest.
Oh yeah, you were telling me that.
So it's basically a sort of head-to-head match 3 game in which all of the sort of gems are the various mana symbols in Magic, along with a sixth. Oh, that's hard to say. Sixth. Sort of symbol for renown or loyalty, because you basically have a planeswalker, so you have to do loyalty mechanics. So you can match those to, instead of building mana, you build planeswalker loyalty to use your planeswalker abilities.
Okay.
And then you also have a hand of cards. And what you do is when you match stuff, you gain that much mana that is then applied to the topmost card in your hand, and you can rearrange stuff in your hand to queue up stuff. And then you have up to 3 creature slots. They can get played. If you would play a duplicate of a creature, it instead reinforces that creature.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of having like multiple copies of the same creature, you just have like one really big giant version.
Yep.
And then there's also spells and supports. So some supports are basically like enchantments and artifacts. And I think land as well. And then spells are basically all your other stuff in Magic. You have a deck, quote unquote, of 10 cards that you just keep cycling through. And yeah, it's and then each turn you and your opponent are using the same sort of gem board. So it's like, not only do you want to get all sorts of combos yourself, but you also don't want to set up your opponent to get all sorts of combos. And then Like, depending on which planeswalker you have, you might get bonuses for matching certain types of mana. So, you start off with Nissa, I think her name is. She's like a green planeswalker, so like you want to focus on green stuff. But you can unlock other planeswalkers really early. I opted not to, and now I'm realizing that I should have. So, because there are like achievements where you unlock more rewards for, there's like a story mode where you complete the stuff in story mode with different colors of planeswalkers. And I was like, oh no. So I'll have to go back and unlock like Jace or Chandra or Liana and all those things.
Good old Jason.
Yeah. Yep. You can unlock Karn, the artifact.
Colorless, right?
Yeah. The only thing is really expensive. So I don't know how you would do it without just putting down a bunch of money, which makes me sad. So they do, because it's based on Magic, they do have a lot of sort of microtransaction mechanics in there. But so far, I've been playing through without spending any money, and, I'm having a good time.
Yep, it's good.
It's just, just play through. I mean, it's easy for me to play green because it's very straightforward. It's just play creatures. But I have been doing all sorts of... and some of the things, the way they do like the lands and stuff are really interesting. So supports, what happens is because it doesn't go on your board, it basically like augments a gem on the board where like it'll get like a little reticule around it with a counter. And that shows you like how many times that gem can be used to complete stuff, like used to complete matches before it gets used up. And as long as that gem's on the board, you have access to your support's abilities. So there's like Nissa's Pilgrimage, which is a basic support where every turn, 2 gems on the board get converted to green mana. So it's really good if you want to play green. Basically, as long as the gem that it's associated with stays in play, 2 mana symbols every turn will get converted to green. One of the things to note is that the cards themselves, their color only determines what sort of planeswalker deck you can put it in. Mana just gets converted to mana. So, the only reason colored mana matters is whether to match your planeswalker proficiencies. Otherwise, it's just numbers. So, but yeah. But it's things like, elves and stuff will like turn existing mana green. So like, if that's the case, then your main goal is you want to turn like as many gems as you want into like a specific color. But things like Shivan Reef, which is like a land ability, each turn will turn 1 gem red and 1 gem blue, kind of a thing, to match like the fact that it's a dual land. So it's really interesting mechanics that they've adapted from Magic to a puzzle game. Basically your creatures automatically attack your enemy every turn unless your opponent's creatures have like a defender, or they added a new one called Berserker, which is you attack creatures instead of your opponent. And I think Reach is like defender for flying creatures. And all sorts of stuff like that. So they added like a little bit of Hearthstone-like mechanics in there. But yeah, it's really fun. It's just a nice it's a free-to-play mobile game. So yeah, been digging it.
Nice.
So, and that I think is going to wrap things up for the night, unless we have anything further.
I don't think so.
Okay then. So, if you want to see more stuff from 8-Bit Adventures, be sure to go check out 8-bitadventures.com. Over there you can find artwork, podcasts, content, videos, all sorts of cool stuff. And if you want to help support that content, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/8bitadventures. You can get access to things like the Speedy and Monty comic, and I'm toying around with the idea and looking into like how to try and automate giving people pie cakes for being patrons. So so that way, like, there's a little bit of an incentive to also become a patron. But big shout out and thank you to all of our current patrons. And our opening theme, finally, is One Up by Professor Shy Guy. You can find his amazing work over at professorshyguy.bandcamp.com. That wraps things up, folks. So we're heading out. So have fun, happy gaming, and enjoy your pie cake.